Hi, I'm Caroline Massenet. I'm the founder and creative director of Skim, and here's my beautiful friend Arizona, supermodel, and she's going to be talking about sustainability, which she's very passionate about, like me. So Absolutely. We're going to have a really interesting conversation together, so she can bright up all the ideas and the vision of it.
Which we do anyway in our real life, just talk about sustainability and fashion, and
yes.
So here we are doing it on camera. To me, sustainability is something that we're all striving towards. Right now, it's in the industry of fashion, we're pretty unclear about what that word means still.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like the big S word that everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard that word and I think I know what it means. But then when you really ask people, they're like, I'm very unsure of what the answer is, including me. I'm very unsure of what the definition of that word is because there's so many different definitions.
It's so many topics. It's like ethical as well. Ethical.
So many brands doing so many different
sustainable.
things within. Are they interchangeable, ethical and sustainable? To me, they're not. To me, ethics says more about the social side of a brand and how they're operating. Are they paying their workers properly? Are they treating their workers properly? How many holidays are they getting? How old are their workers? Those things like that, for me, fall under ethical. And under sustainable falls the environmental side of things. So there are some brands who feel like, oh, well, only one of those is important to me, so I'm going to do one and not the other. And I think we need to get to a place where all of us are doing both because they're both equally as important.
To make it 100% sustainable, which doesn't really exist as of now, right? It's quite difficult.
It's quite difficult. It's not, because there are so many different components to a garment, as you know better than anyone. The lining, the zipper, the thread that sewed it together, the fusing in the shoulders. Maybe there's leather, maybe there's another fabric as well. There's metal in the little, what are these called? You're the designer.
The press studs.
Press studs. Exactly.
Trust me, there is many still technical words that I still don't know, but
you're getting there. I don't know any of that. And so sustainability, we need to, as an industry, define this word more. What does it mean to be sustainable, and who's allowed to use that word? Are you just allowed to kind of stamp it on anything you want to?
Yeah, because as of now, there is no certificate who says, sustainable.
There are some certifications, but they're all for very specific things. Like there's the Global Organic Textile Certification, GOTS, and they're amazing. They usually certify cotton, whether it's organic or not, but they also certify the whole process. So if there's a GOTS certified garment, it means that not only the fabric, but the way it was dyed, the way it was processed, and the factory in which it was sewn together, that's also really important in the GOTS certification, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It now, at the moment, it costs a lot to get those certifications.
That's the problem,
so this is hard for a brand who's starting out.
It's true.
Or even who isn't starting out. It's hard for brands whose margins are already quite tight, and then they suddenly have to add on this certification cost, and usually the cost doesn't even fall to the brand. It actually goes below the brand into the supply chain.
Yeah.
And those margins are even smaller if you're a factory or if you're a mill, if you're sewing fabric together.
Because in fact, for consumers, they don't really know what's the sustainable part of each garment, and the price for them is why is that expensive, or why is that more expensive than a normal brand who's not.
And if you don't really understand why, if you see one product and it's equivalent, the same thing basically, and one's more expensive than the other, are you really going to choose the one that's more expensive?
That's the problem.
If you don't know enough about why, I wouldn't myself.
Me neither.
You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just not. So this is something that we need to, and I do think it's happening now in the industry. Sustainability is becoming more affordable and more mainstream.
So how would you think they're going to change the price of it? How would they?
It's as simple as that. It's like everything. The more you buy of something, the price will come down because it's just more efficient to produce more of something. When it's a fabric or the raw material that's being grown, the price is coming down. By the way, organic cotton is minimally more expensive than conventional cotton. It's really not huge, so it's when you buy it by the bushel as the spinners do. So that to me is still frustrating that brands aren't using 100% organic cotton in their whole range.
But also you will think organic or bio natural product will be cheaper because there is less chemicals, so there is less work. So why would it be more expensive? There's kind of sometimes a nonsense of how to understand why, and why we're paying more for a natural product where they don't use so many products or no chemicals.
I think it's a matter of scale.
I think it's because there's less people.
Yeah.
So there's
conventional cotton growers. It's enormous. The farm is enormous, so they're operating on such a grand scale that they can bring the price down too low.
I think
that's not the price of cotton. That is
and it's not
below
more
the actual
right?
natural price of cotton. We need to start thinking about how we need to readjust our opinions of what prices should be. Cotton should never have fallen as low as it is. It's just not fair. It's not fair on the environment. There are costs, hidden costs that aren't coming out in the price, like the cost to the environment, the cost to the workers who are harvesting it and planting it. Those are, to me, really high costs, but they don't translate into dollars. So we need to just be moral and say, I'm not willing to accept that cost on the things I buy. I'm just not. It's not okay with me to know that there's a fertilizer runoff from the fields. I'm not even talking about pesticides, which are killing all the insects and all the other plants.
And that's a big problem as well.
It's a huge problem. But the fertilizer, which is actually a positive thing because it's supposed to be feeding the plants and giving them nutrients, that runs off the field because the fields are so dry and just solid that they can't absorb water properly anymore. So the fertilizer runs off into the neighboring river.
It goes deep to any sort of...
Into the neighboring river, down into aquifers below. And then you get these algae growing because there's too much nitrogen in the water. And the algae grows and it takes all the oxygen. So then the native plants who used to grow happily in that river, they die. And you've just got this green sludge water that nothing can live in, not even little tiny fishy, shrimpy little things. It's just, and the whole thing, that's all because
so a lot
farming.
Of like fishes, like sort of things in the nature are disappearing because of that also.
Yeah, and those little guys were the ones who were filtering the water to make it clean in the first place. So it's just, you see the cycle that used to work beautifully is just like coming
by
to
all
a
the new
halt.
technology and that's a big problem.
It's a big problem. And so imagine everything about cotton. That's all the same for everything in agriculture. So corn is grown the same way, and corn turns into a feed for livestock. So there you've got, then this is the reason why cows are harmful. Cows on their own are actually an amazing animal who are really helpful to the environment. That when they're used on small farms like biodynamic farms, they're actually the center of the farm. The whole farm revolves around them, and they're through their manure they make it all super healthy and lovely. What's wrong about the whole leather? Why leather gets such a bad rap when we're talking about sustainability is because of the agricultural part of it. So the corn is grown just to be feed. So you've got all that fertilizer runoff and all this pesticide runoff happening to feed cows. And these cows are so overpopulated, overpopulated. We know they're unhappy. I mean, it's not, no one can say factory farmed animals are having a great time. It's just, that is not okay. But also from an environmental point of view, that is one of the most destructive ways of raising skins. So leather, to me, is a really sustainable option if it's not coming from a factory farm. And that's so important. And right now, there's very few ways to distinguish where the skins go. So organic meat, when it goes to the slaughterhouse...
Meat industry, like...
They mark it and they keep it separate, obviously, because they have to, because there are certifications around it. It's going to be sold differently and labeled differently. The skins, they refuse. It's too difficult for them to mark the skins as organic or as just conventional cows. So they all get mixed in. So when you're a brand trying to buy leather responsibly, you can't say, I only want to buy organic leather. Because they're like, well, we don't know which ones are organic.
No, it's true. Nowadays, you really need to be careful what is your supplier, where it's coming from, the vegetable dye, because most of the time now they all do that because it tends to be more popular, they're kind of entering into that.
A lot of brands now are asking for a vegetable tan. Because leather is a really fantastic material. It lasts for a really long time. It has so many amazing intrinsic qualities like being waterproof and being stain resistant and because it's an animal. Think about where it came from. The animal needs to be out in the rain. It needs it's the animal at the time is self-healing. It's just, the whole thing leather is amazing. I love it. And it's nutritive. So when at the end of the life of these beautiful trousers, which I hope never come to an end, they can go into the earth and they will be nutritive.
Yeah, it's biodegradable.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's not just biodegradable, they're actually nutrients. That's the difference.
Yes,
being biodegradable can just mean that it falls apart and disintegrates. But actually this one will become food for little bacteria and then plants, and then it's all part of the cycle.
Because it's the vegetable dye,
it's not toxic.
It's not toxic.
It's really important. So to me, it's just the industry around the cows and the cow feed needs to be drastically changed. But to me, leather is a really great option for sustainability.
Yeah.
And the same goes for fur. It's an animal hide, so it's fully biodegradable.
Yeah, there is a big tendency, like the past 5 years, I would say, where all the big brands are not using anymore real fur, and they were into faux fur, which people thought it was better, but actually it's so wrong because it's so full of plastic and it's like wrong. But now it comes back to the, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying everyone should wear fur, but at least, you know, from the right, you know.
If you were doing fur and leather the right way with minimal environmental in fact positive environmental effects and positive social effects, and you were doing faux fur, to compare the two, this one is going to win for sure, because faux fur is never going to be happy and healthy for the planet. It is plastic, it's coming from petrochemical bases. When you choose a material that has an inherently high value, leather it's valuable, it's expensive for you to buy your raw material, which means you're going to take care of it, you're not going to waste it as much, you're going to make sure you're really cutting your patterns very carefully to have the minimal waste, whereas if you're working with a cheap material, you just don't have those incentives. So then automatically there will be a lot more waste.
And I'm so careful with all the leftovers we have. We tend to use it to make like you know, the card holders, you know, like belts,
which
so
I love, by the way.
Waste.
You gave me one this morning and it is so pretty and so cute. And of course it's the perfect use for leftovers.
Because I hate the idea of wasting all of this skin, and it's there and it's like, you know, what do we do with that? I'm sure we're gonna do that, and you know, we can do like gift for people, for you know, for friends, and it's like perfect.
A lot of sustainability is common sense, and you have to know your facts in order to make the right decisions.
I actually discovered in Tuscany when I was to one of the supplier and the production. She's like, you know that you can make leather in a good way, where, you know, with the tanning, for instance, like this is vegetable dye.
Yeah.
Not every color could use the vegetable dye, so that's why, you know, we're sometimes quite limited in sort of colors. But I don't mind, because all the colors I like, the kind of you know, it kind of it has like a vintage look kind of, you know.
I love that you say that you don't mind the restraints of sustainability, because we've been living in a world where we had zero restraints. We were all like, yeah, whatever, we'll just do it, whatever. We'll have plastic, we'll wrap everything in plastic.
I know.
So there's biodegradable plastic. Yeah, it feels different. It's softer.
It's softer. It's like kind of silky, satinated.
Exactly. It feels nicer. The thing about biodegradable plastic that I found out relatively recently, because I thought biodegradable plastic, amazing, why aren't we all using it? We should all switch. Actually, biodegradable plastic doesn't turn into something healthy for the environment. It just disintegrates, and it's in smaller pieces, which we know are called microparticles. And those microfibers and microparticles will get into water streams and air streams, and everything will eat them because they seem like food, and they're really toxic, and they don't actually
also
disappear.
They're still toxic.
So biodegradable plastic also turns directly into methane instead of just plastic usually retains its shape and its who it is for 1,000 years, as we know is a problem, but at least it's in its shape and it's retaining who it is.
Yeah.
Biodegradable plastic falls apart, disintegrates, and turns into methane. So when it's in the dump, in landfill, it's turning directly into methane, which is a more powerful greenhouse gas than CO2.
Oh, okay.
So that is actually really bad, and we need to just stop all production of
biodegradable plastic. So see, it's so many things. There's
no winner. There's no winner with plastic.
No winner.
There just isn't. No.
Yeah.
So you were telling me about the vegetable tanning, and that is a beautiful way of making these amazing colors that are a little bit more earthy, but in like a really organic, elegant way. Not the kind of the brown that is coming to mind when I think of like eco wear 15 years ago, where it's all brown and it was all very kind of like, okay, that's not very fashiony. This is the most fashiony collection ever. Your brand is so fashiony.
Thank you.
So fashiony that to then know that it's all veg tan colors and leather, it's a real aspiration. It really is an inspiration for other brands to go, okay, so I can look super fashiony even if I'm working within the framework of sustainability. So
buying like a piece of leather is for life. You know, you want to give that to your kids or you know, because it's emotional, it lasts forever. So, you know, it's more about buying less but better. My team and I are aware of every time we receive packages from either the factory or suppliers, you know, it comes in tons of different fabric and material plus the plastics, just because to make sure that the rain is not so. There is no other element right now, but we keep the plastic and we ship them back so they can reuse them.
They reuse it. That's
so
amazing.
That's a way of
So suddenly it's not single-use plastic. It gets a few uses out of it, which then prevents the use of more single-use fabric of plastic. Yeah, it's really important. And the tape you mentioned, did you used to use plastic tape?
It kind of grew, from the beginning, because of course when we started, it was not everything like completely sustainable. We had to learn. It's a journey.
I have paper tape at home too, because I realized eventually, I was like, hold on a minute, I'm taping up boxes just on my personal level, not for a brand, but with plastic tape. Why am I doing this? It's going to last forever. And I looked and I found paper tape. It's worth it to just Google
and it's much easier
sustainable paper tape. You get it, and then you buy that instead. Like it's quite these
and
changes are
it's
quite
not more
simple.
money.
It's slightly more money, but it's not that much. And again, the more people buy it, the price will come down. Right now, plastic tape is so cheap because everyone buys it.
Exactly.
So as soon as that shift happens, plastic tape will become obsolete, which is going to be an amazing
and it looks better. I think it looks better as well.
So
it's more
now.
like chic, it's like organic.
My packages look beautiful.
And then we use like
it's nicer to cut it open as well. You know the sound when you're slicing through the paper tape. It's really satisfying.
It is sexier. That's what we're aiming to do, like sexy.
Exactly.
Make the sustainability world sexy. It needs to be more.
It needs to be. Yeah. As a brand, how do you feel about the idea of open sourcing? Because until now, it's obviously a very well-kept secret what your supply chain is, because you don't want other brands to copy you, which is of course you don't. But also at the same time, how can you guarantee, not you personally, but brands in general, how can you guarantee that you are traceable if you're not willing to share that information? And it's a big question right now in the whole industry.
It is tricky. There is no really, no one could really trace us properly.
Yeah, except for yourself.
Unless for myself. But I would be okay to share my tips, because I think it's for the environment, I don't want to keep it for myself, because then this is selfish, right? Yeah. So, for instance, for students or for a new startup or a new designer, young designer who has no clue where to find and source like sustainable, like vegetable dyes and I would be so happy to share it, because this is the way it has to grow, and we then like bring more work and more people working in that environment, So
and to the suppliers who are doing the right thing, it's important to support them and to give them more work.
And if I support them, they won't say, "Oh, bye-bye, this fish is bigger than you."
If you're also
because it's just, for me, it's a pleasure also to share these ideas, which is like relevant for life.
And then there are also many resources now available to other, you were mentioning startups and newer designers who don't know what they're doing yet in terms of sustainability and are building a supply chain. So there's an organization in London who I'm on the advisory board of, and I love them.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Their name is The Sustainable Angle, and they are sourcing fabrics and leathers from all over the world that are sustainable, because right now at all the major fabric fairs, it's still very hard to find sustainable fabrics. So even if you go with a good intention, thinking I want to come away with all these sustainable fabrics, you might not find them. It's like a needle in a haystack. These fabric fairs are so big. So going to The Sustainable Angle and starting there, and they're not an agent, so they don't even charge you for connecting with the mills. They'll just put you in touch with whoever you want, and then you call the mill and then you order from them, and it's just a service that they provide, which is amazing. And they have a fair every year in January here in London, where they show all their fabrics.
I saw you, we went together, lovely.
Which was really great. It's just getting bigger and bigger. Recycling is when you take something and you turn it back into its original raw material, and then you put it into a new thing. So recycled denim.
Okay, so upcycling.
Recycled denim. No, it's perfect. Yeah. It's very close but slightly different. So recycled denim is where you take denim, you shred it down into fibers again, you respin the thread, and then you reweave the thread or
no, it's upcycling.
So that's recycling.
Yes, okay.
And usually the particles it's not as high quality to recycle a fabric, because you need the filaments to be longer to make a high quality fabric, so they don't come apart so easily when they're spun. Imagine really short ones, they kind of stick out like this, and longer ones can weave around each other better. So that a thread made from a recycled fiber is not as high quality as its original.
So they're using.
But what you're doing is upcycling. So you're taking denim, cutting them apart, using those pieces without.
We're not unsewing or anything like that.
Yeah. And then you're going to sew them back together in different shapes. So that's amazing to use that, because it also takes one step of energy use. It's just upcycling is usually better than recycling.
So
Okay,
every
I can't wait to
piece
see
will
what you're
be
doing.
unique, basically.
Yeah.
So you might have like a, like stitches there and there, but yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
really
I think it's cool. It's like and it's I like the used one also. It's not as
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been washed and washed
Yeah,
and
it's
washed,
washed,
and then
so
it
it's
gets
softer,
better.
exactly.
Yeah.
all of our leftover skin.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the
Yeah.
the leather.
Yeah.
We never waste them.
Okay.
So I always want to make sure that we're reusing
Yeah.
them to make few things, like because we're a leather
Yeah. Leather
brand. So I just launched my accessories line recently, and with bags, shoes, belts, and now card holders. So
Amazing.
what if we sometimes we have got a small kind of
Yeah.
scheme there and there. So I was like, okay, let's do like card holders, and
Yeah.
it's always a good idea, to give people for Christmas or
Yeah, lovely.
like friends, birthdays, and it's an entry level price,
Yeah.
which so it's more affordable
Yeah.
for people. But with my skin, so it could be with leopard leopard print and
Things that you see in the
cornea
main
color.
collection as well.
Yes,
And you
with
go,
a little star stud,
Yeah.
to make it cute.
Nice. So cute.
So yeah, that's
So
what
cute.
we do. So there is no waste
Yeah.
at all whatsoever. I think it's more efficient this way, So you because I have a great connection with buyers or my customers because I like to please them, and I'm so excited when they love the product. So I just want to share my ideas with them directly,
Yeah.
and then they spread the word.
Yeah.
And
I started from an environmental point of view. I realized that I was introduced to this wonderful charity called Synchronicity Earth, also based in London, who do they do a lot. They funnel funds to a lot of different projects around the world who are either doing animal conservation. They work a lot with biodiversity, keeping an old growth forest intact, and they're just fantastic, the work they're doing. And I got really interested in the environment through them and realized that there was so much to be done in my own industry in fashion. So that's where I became really passionate about fashion sustainability and realized that there's a lot that I can do here.
Did you do any collaboration with any brands that are?
I have done collaborations with two small Italian luxury brands it was wonderful. I loved it. I made blazers with Blazer Milano.
Oh my god, they're the best blazer.
They're the best.
Sophie
Yeah,
Blazer
so nice.
Milano.
And
Blazer Milano.
yeah, Blazer, they're amazing. And then I did more recently a collaboration with Officina del Poggio, which is another Italian brand who makes bags. So beautiful, so nice. We did a safari collection, and they're just amazing. And we used skins as well, similar to what you do, because they just do bags, so they're just leather.
Yes.
And we used all sustainable leather. She was already using vegetable tanned leathers in a lot of her bags. And we used ostrich leg, which is a great skin. It's
Ostrich legs.
because the ostrich skin is used, but the legs are discarded. They're just not used. No one uses them.
Okay.
And they have no meat on them, so they're just absolute waste. And so that there's a company
So they
in
wait
South
for
Africa.
the ostrich to die first?
No, the ostrich is killed for its body skin and
Okay.
for its meat.
Okay.
But the legs are just tossed away and
Okay.
just, I don't know, composted or nothing.
I didn't know that.
And so there's a company who takes the skin off the leg. It looks a lot like a python. It's beautiful, and they heat fuse the panels together to make
with
a
the
big
small
piece.
dots
No, that's
not
the
the-
dots are from the body skin.
from the body, so
but the leg looks
legs
different.
are
It looks
different.
more like a
I don't
python.
think I've seen it.
I'll show you.
Yes.
I'll show you.
I'm
Maybe we can
interested
do
now.
something together and make it. It's so nice. It's beautiful. And then their fish skins, amazing
Like
fish
eel.
skins. Salmon, eel.
So.
But there's a project in the rainforest in Brazil where they fish these fish sustainably. It gives them a livelihood, so they can stay. They're an indigenous people. They can stay in the rainforest rather than going into cities and getting jobs cleaning toilets, which is not what these wonderful people in this incredible culture should be doing. It allows them to stay in the rainforest. They're managing the river. They're actually cleaning up the river and making it less polluted through having their livelihood come through from the river with these fishes. And it's just beautiful. They're huge too. So one hide from a fish is like huge. It's that big.
So
yeah,
you
which
can
is unusual for
easily
fish.
use it
Normally you have
for
to
garments as
panel
well.
them all together, and this one
Yeah,
is
like the eel. The eel
yeah.
is like strong.
Skinny, yeah.
Skinny.